Welcome to the place where we learn about and learn from the leaders in our field who are powering creativity. I am Dworkin, and this is Arts Engines. Thanks again for joining me here on Arts Engines. Today's guest is Gordon Back, world-renowned pianist and artistic director of the Menuhin Competition. Gordon, welcome to the show.
Thank you, and it's a great honor to be on the show.
So, I definitely, of course, want to talk all about Menuhin, but I thought I would just start out so we can share just a little bit more about your background. And of course, you have collaborated with and performed with, a laundry list of all of the greatest, artists in the world from my perspective, internationally. But just wondering kind of if you could share just kind of coming up where you clearly, of course, have a passion. And so just wondering, where did this spark come from? How did it come for you? How did it start for you, this entire wonderful trajectory you've lived?
Well, I was a joint first study with viola and piano, actually. So I grew up in youth orchestra. That was my main inspiration when I was young. And I probably played with terrible violinists then, actually. But I was fortunate enough in my 20s to work with many great violinists like Menuhin, Milstein, Joseph Suk, just to name a few, but also to be the official pianist, or you'd say collaborator, I guess, in the Carl Flesch in London, the Tchaikovsky in Moscow, Queen Elizabeth, and then the very first Indianapolis competition in '82.
Wow.
So I have this kind of unique background of working with violinists from the inside, if you like.
Awesome, awesome. And, for all of those, and, certainly we often talk about collaborators here versus accompanists and all of that. And just wondering kind of how you would, for our viewers who are, are coming up and are thinking about their role as a pianist, collaborating with other artists. What would you kind of share with them about how you think they should view themselves as a musician as they collaborate with others?
I think for collaboration, it's a fantastic thing to be involved in because you've got to be a soloist and an accompanist. Actually, you've got to be both things, because in a sonata, many sonatas are written for piano and violin, and people sort of forget that. And then it goes through decades where the pianist was virtually sort of told to put the lid down and play underneath the piano, to being actually efficiently recognized as being sort of equal partnerships.
Right. Yep. Absolutely. And so I think just having that mindset at an early age, I think really goes to just how someone even approaches their own artistry, which is fantastic. So clearly at a, relatively early on in your career, you became associated with competitions and engaged with them and all of that. So just wondering if you could share with us kind of, what do you think about competitions and their role in our field?
I don't necessarily like competitions in some way. That's kind of funny as artistic director of the Menuhin. But the Menuhin is unique because it's not about discovering the first prize where the competition is sort of pushing that prize winner. It's about discovering talents, young, fantastic talents, that at the age of 11, 12, you don't know how they're going to develop, actually.
Awesome. Yeah.
It's very different with Menuhin.
Yeah.
I mean, I was lucky enough in when I accompanied violinists in competitions. I worked with Kavakos and Vengerov, later with Sarah Chang. So it was kind of funny, those introductions to people that would become great artists later, but I knew them in their teens or sort of 20-ish, so it's very different.
So, it's interesting in kind of this vantage point, both as a collaborating artist, but also as in your role with competitions, you've kind of seen that trajectory, and you've probably seen those who ended up developing phenomenal, sustainable careers, and others who either had a brief kind of flame out or just never even got there. And wondering, as you think back on them, are there, one or two either qualities or approaches or skill sets that the ones who were successful, who were sustainable over time, that you've seen them bring to bear?
Well, again, I keep going back to experiences from the Menuhin, which I don't want to talk about yet. Actually, often the prize winner when they're young, 13, 14, doesn't actually win the first prize. But I can remember incredibly wonderful things about their playing, about their sound, their artistry, their musicianship, which they weren't ready at that age, but later on they were ready. I can think of many examples like that, actually.
Yeah. And do you think, kind of when people say, oh, well, here are these young, musician, they just have this innate talent versus, well, here this young musician who's just got extraordinary work ethic. Any sense of kind of the balance between those two things and where you put weight?
I think it's a combination. I think you absolutely have to have both. When Vengroff won the Carl Flesch at 16, it was a phenomenal talent, but he also had worked like hell from the age of 8 or 9. So it really is a combination of dedication to your art form that really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, awesome. And so, you are able to serve in this role as artistic director for the Menuhin Competition. Arguably, one of the most well-known, impactful international competitions in the world. Could you just share a little bit about, I'm sure all of our audience knows the competition, but just maybe share a little quick overview, and especially anything that that our general audience might not know about Menuhin that really makes it special in terms of its impact?
Well, first of all, I was kind of shocked to be invited to be the artistic director, because knowing it from the inside, I never thought one day I would be the sort of boss of it, if you like. But after Menuhin died, the competition started to sort of go downhill, needed a new trajectory. And I remember having dinner with the board, and we had a lot of wine, actually, and I proposed some radical ideas, like why not have more performers on the jury, not the established, normal, older teachers, and why not move it around the world? Because rather like the Olympics, we attract now, for Richmond, we had 320 entries from 54 countries. And I think as an art form, music, any art form, never stays the same. It's always evolving. So it gave me a unique example with setting up this format of moving to different cities, different countries, that if you really truly listen, which as a collaborator you do, I think, you listen to the host nation where you go and introduce new elements, then the competition continually evolves and it doesn't stay the same.
Wow,
it makes it so incredibly exciting, Aaron.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I see that. And I think like many great ideas, well cultivated over a good bottle of wine. And I love this kind of idea that part of it sounds like what your curation is saying that I'm not going to, that in our structure, we shouldn't just have the artistic director just knows everything and that's how everything should be, but rather let's put together a structure where we're influenced by our host country, by the way that they're viewing things, what they think artistically, et cetera. I think that's really something that is unique and powerful.
It's been an amazing journey. I mean, when we went to Oslo 2010, we celebrated the 200th anniversary of the great Norwegian violinist Ole Bull. Now, I didn't know him. It was his 200th anniversary. He was more famous probably than Paganini at his time, and quite unique in that he would actually pay ladies to faint in the concerts and sort of sell soap. He'd get to the concert, the day before. An amazing guy, but a fabulous composer. So I introduced his music into the competition in Oslo. There are 5 great orchestras in Norway. They 1 or 2 wanted to play, and I said, well, why don't all 5 play? Which they'd never done. And so that collaboration of all those major forces of Oslo created a great event. And then, as we've just said about new creations, the day before it started, the ash cloud went off in
Oh,
Iceland.
wow, right.
So we had to rip up 2 years' work, start again, reinvent it, start 2 days late. And we got about 200 volunteers involved from the city. And it was a great, great event, actually.
Wow, wow.
And there was a wonderful story of one kid who was a Chinese boy who's studying in NEC, had flown to Iceland a few days early and was stuck in Iceland with this cloud. Eventually, we arranged through the ambassador to get out on a mail flight, which went to Trondheim, 3 hours ride from Oslo. He arrived sort of 3 days late. He was the last to play in his jeans because he didn't have any clothes. I mean, they were lost on the aircraft. And he actually went on to win first prize.
So it's just extraordinary. Innovation, being adaptable, you know, all of these core things that are actually entrepreneurial skill sets that I often try and teach my students. So
well, you're an amazing teacher. What you've done with Sphinx, I think, is just incredible, I must say.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you so much. And, you know, the history with Menuhin has just been so wonderful. And from the founding of the competition, actually, and on our initial honorary committee. And so there's unfortunately, we're beginning to run short on time, but wanted to kind of say, so for young students who are out there, wherever they might be, and they're thinking about, should I enter Menuhin? I'm worried that, you know, I'll just be part of a mess, or I won't get accepted, or, you know, any of those things. What do you say to young people who are considering entering either Menuhin or other competitions, but especially Menuhin? What's your...
I can only talk about Menuhin, really. I would say absolutely to enter. It's the least competitive of any competition I know, because for Yehudi, it was all about a cultural experience, a learning experience, an educational experience, where these like-minded people meet. They have an absolutely great time. Even if you are not accepted, you can apply again many, many times. Many people, the juniors, don't get into the competition, come back as seniors and win a prize. So I think it's incredibly inspiring, because these young people are really the sort of future of music and the audience of the future as well. Yeah. So it's a unique event in many, many aspects, I think.
Oh, awesome. So, and one just last question, you know, I'm always curious, and I know a lot of our audience always is, of the extraordinary leaders who we have on the show. When times are tough, when you're facing a volcanic cloud and things are changing, or of course, as I've, shared and seen your extraordinary work and adaptability with the pandemic and competition, where do you turn for inspiration, for strength during some of those most challenging of times?
I love to walk early in the morning. I get ideas that way. I wake up in the middle of the night and often either use a dictaphone or paper and write some ideas down. It comes from inspiration really around me. And one has to be adjustable, one has to develop, one has to be innovative.
Wow. Gordon Beck, you truly are one of the great arts engines who is powering human creativity in our world. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you, Ernst. Great to talk to you.